Hello all you beautiful people, and welcome back to League Unlock. Mark and Eric here for some power rankings from the LEC, the best region in the world, as you know you want to talk about. And the theme for this week's power rankings is some shifting in the bottom half. Except that's not the theme at all. It's really only in Europe where that's happening.
Yeah, only going on here in Europe right now because of what we've seen here at the very top. We're pretty certain about type of situations.
Quite confident,
So I think, yeah, absolutely, it is the bottom. Doing a little bit of shifting here. Need to get that base settled here for the LEC power rankings.
Excel has been hanging out at the bottom for pretty much the entirety of the split. Not pretty much.
Since
week
their
one.
inception? Yeah.
Since their inception. But this week, SK Gaming. This is a playoff team from spring with the longest losing streak in the entire league, 7 games. They started 3-2, and you're like, all right, yeah, they could get back in playoffs. And then all of a sudden, they have lost 7 games in a row.
It's sad times here from SK Gaming, and we haven't seen enough proactivity as far as getting out of this type of slump situation. And I think that is something that you're seeing with an organization that's come into the LEC again here, type of new situation and trying to figure things out and not exactly being quick enough on the jump here of recognizing some bad trends and things like that. Performances haven't been what we've expected out of the SK Gaming squad. Even someone here, you're thinking to yourself, man, they gotta get more here. You're not getting it.
It's too late now at 3-9 probably, because Excel, the team that was below them, are winning. They're having 2-0 weeks. They're tripling their wins. And I will say, even though they were 1-9, I think the consensus was this team's looking better. They're competitive in a lot of their matches, at least pre-15 minutes. And this week, all of a sudden, it all came together, and that early game snowballed right through in both these matchups.
This is for sure one of those situations where you've been watching Excel and you saw that 1-9 record and you said to yourself, man, they're in a lot more of these games. They're in games where, you know, 1 or 2 things go against them, and that's the way that the other team gets that advantage to push on through. But this is the weekend that you saw it come together for Excel, manage everything together here, and finally pull off the performances here. And hey, it's some of these old veterans getting it done. It's Expect putting in some major performances here for the Excel squad.
And he has been the consistent man on this squad, even back in spring when they were really underwhelming and doing other roster swaps. Keep this guy on a roster because he has still been at least in the top half of these top laners here in the LEC for the summer split, even with this team struggling. Love seeing Expect doing well. You have Misfits or Misfits Premier right above them. Even though they just lost to Excel, I think these guys have actually put some good performances on the Rift since they came in. I expect them to keep performing pretty well, better than the main roster. They took down Fnatic.
As unfortunate as it is, I have been definitely a lot more impressed and happy with watching this Misfits Premier lineup than I was watching the Misfits regular lineup struggle so much. So this is, unfortunately for those veteran players, this Misfits new lineup I hope is the one to stay.
And Vitality jumps 1 spot over Rogue. I think Vitality, they've bounced back in a huge way since that 0-4 start. 5-3 since then. They almost, and I do mean almost, took down Splyce this week, but couldn't quite get it done. But by 5-7, they're looking like the favorites to lock up that final playoff spot as we move into the top 5, which is very similar to last week's, save for one change. We got to start with Origin, though, who are 5-7. Listen, they had Fnatic and G2 this week, which is tough. They probably should have beaten Fnatic, but we'll talk about that. And Schalke stays 7-5. They're pretty solidly in that 4th spot, I think. They had, again, chances this week to get a huge win against Splyce, but couldn't do it.
I think this is one of those situations here where you're looking at even both Schalke and Origin. I think you can maybe group into this situation here, that if they don't find a way to maybe impress you a little bit more here this weekend coming up here, that a team like Vitality, if they continue the stretch that they've been on, if we still see Jizuke continue to improve and be that more reliable player that we want him to be in the mid lane for Vitality, I think you could talk about them taking over these spots from Origin and Schalke, who for the most part have been in the kind of this solidified top 5 in the LEC throughout the most part of this summer here. But I do think that it's about time that we see them turn things around, find some positive momentum here, or else you're going to be passed over by others.
And the only movement here this week, Splyce goes over Fnatic, and we got to start with Fnatic because
Well, where do you want to start?
I don't know where you want to start. Well, you want to start with the fact that they probably should have gone 0-2 if not for this Baron steal this weekend. But it just feels off with this roster. It's a totally different feel in game. They're not nearly as in control as we saw for the first 4 to 5 weeks of the split. They were completely destroying people in the early game. They did it to G2 even, and there is just no sign of that the last couple of weeks.
Right, there has absolutely been almost no focus on that early game in this type of sense from this lineup, and the changes that have been going through have been changes that are made with almost seeing no real benefit, more or less, at least short-term benefit here for this squad right now. And I think right now, that's got to be your focus, is short-term right now, because this is a team that you know you're going to have the championship points moving forward here for Worlds and all those type of things. I don't think that would really be your concern. If you're this Fnatic squad, your concern has got to be the short-term here, turning things around and proving yourself again as this top dog in Europe. That's where you want to be at the end of this split here. And I think short-term, got to make some adjustments to get there, because these are not the performances that you want moving forward.
Something just feels off with the team, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
You sure it's not Rengar top?
Well, that is definitely off. Get the kitty out of the top lane, but they got to win. So I'm telling you, that's an argument for Bwipo.
A win is not the justification for everything.
That's an argument for Bwipo. But Splyce does move up that spot ahead of Fnatic, and I think deservedly so. They had, now listen, Vitality threw this game.
Sure.
They should have taken down Splyce, but I still think Splyce have looked better. These late game fights, they still have that win condition. It's 40 or 35 minutes even now. It gets to that point, they're more than likely going to win that game, and I think pretty much there's been no weak point on this roster here in the summer split.
I mean, they get major special props here because they also won with Jin in the bottom side. That is a major.
That's big brownie points for Mark.
That's major smiley points here from me on that one. Good job here by the Splyce boys. But yes, when you're looking at this one, of course, the Vitality win is not the impressive one that you wanted. This is more so the result that you wanted to talk about here. The game against Schalke and the way that they played and outplayed them across the map is what you liked to hear from the Splyce boys here. And this is a squad that, again, consistency has been there pretty much entirely through this split here for the Splyce squad, and has only been steadily increasing in performance.
And your number one team, believe it or not, it's G2. Don't know what more to say. Another 2-0 week, some fun picks. They're the best team in Europe. They're the best team in the world.
Give me Jin mid. No more Tristana. Give me that Jin mid here.
I think Caps might just play every single AD in the mid lane.